I'm going to talk about today how security people fit into DevOps, because we belong there, and how it is our job to enable Dev and Ops or DevOps engineers to do their jobs securely. It is our job to support them and make their lives awesome and more secure. Yes, let's do this. Okay, so what are we going to oh, I'm pressing the button. I'm pressing the button. I know I'm far, but I'm not that far. Oh, come on. I had a joke, come on. I don't know what to do here. Okay, so everyone pretend that that was funny. And then I'm just gonna go like this. So I'm just gonna, oh good, the computer, we'll just, there we go. Okay, let's see this. Okay, so at locomocosec. These slides are online. They're not gonna have the cute images of locomocosec, I'm sorry. Okay, so as we saw from this morning with Daniel and also with James, we have to do 7 things today. I'm just kidding, I'm not doing that, no. I'm not doing that, but I thought it would be really funny if I did like 7 instead of the 21 I'm gonna do. That's okay. Okay, so what are we really gonna talk about? We're gonna talk about DevOps and security becoming a part of DevOps, and then that creating DevSecOps. I know that a lot of you are like, if you just do DevOps properly, that there will be security as part of DevOps, and I agree. And as soon as everyone that does DevOps starts doing that, I promise to stop saying this. Okay, so how many people have seen this slide before? Magical rainbow poop. That's not how I feel about DevOps. That's not how I feel. I feel like this, right? I feel like we as security people are like giving them tools and assisting them and teaching them and supporting them while they poop their magic rainbows. We don't want to stop that. We want to help them do it securely, right? So this is my view of DevOps. And I know that some of you don't agree yet, but hopefully by the next 45 minutes you will. Okay, so I'm Tanya Janca, and sometimes I like punk rock. So on the internet I'm She Hacks Purple. And we do these slides to try to show you that we are super qualified to give the talk that we're doing. Just so you know, that's why speakers do it, not because we want to talk about ourselves. So I work for this little startup that you might have heard of, right? We do all sorts of cool stuff, and I have the weirdest job title ever. I'm an advocate. What does that mean? So I made a whole slide to explain it, but basically I get to do cool stuff like this, and I get to work on my open source project and make proof of concepts and just share everything I do with the community, which since I was already doing that before I started, it's pretty cool. They're giving me money now. So I'm totally obsessed with OWASP. No matter what time, like no matter what you see me talk about, I'll somehow weave OWASP in it. Like I can't help it. And then I also like, so we used to be called WIST, but now we're called WOSEC because it rhymed with another women's group, and then everyone just kept confusing us, and it made them sad face. So I've been coding a long time, and I think I'm older than most people think, so just add 10 to whatever you're thinking, you're probably right. And so all of this aside, I do these things because I was a software developer a long time, and I felt like the way, it's so hard to make secure software. It's so hard. Like you saw all of these talks leading up to this talk of like all the crazy things that they're doing, like how complicated CSP is and how complex, all the stuff that Uber was doing, like with the so many different levels, and it's just like, it's so hard for software developers to try to get through this, and so I started doing this to try to help make it easier. And with that is lots about Tanya, and instead let's talk about DevSecOps. Yes, okay. So first, I'm gonna give you a brief overview of what AppSec is. You're like, I'm at an AppSec conference, Tanya, I already know everything you have to say. Good. Okay, so what is AppSec? So this is my definition. Every single thing you do to improve the security of your software is AppSec, right? So if you're doing a secure code review, awesome. If you are upgrading like a third-party component, a library because you know it's insecure, awesome. If you're just like grepping through your source code for things that you found in your last pen test, like you might not think like, oh, that's important, and that's AppSec, so thank you. Okay, oh yeah, I said that. So AppSec's a problem, you probably know this, but did you know, so in the Verizon Breach Report 2016, 2017, and 2018, we are the winners again of poor web application security causing #1 cause of breaches, over and over by a lot. Like see how one of them's way longer than the other? That's us. And like they estimate that it's between like 26 to 40% of the breaches are caused by this, but if you look at your budget for security, you better believe it, that's not how much it's getting. Okay, one more thing. So it's not covered in schools very often. This is starting to change a little bit, but mostly when they teach software developers stuff about security, they're like, I know what we'll do. We'll teach them what RBAC means, which is really important. You should know that. And like how access control works, very important. You should know that. That is not AppSec. It could be part of your design of your app, but it's like this one small, there's so much more you need to know. And imagine if you were going to learn to be an electrician, right? And then they're like, oh, by the way, just like twist those wires into the wall and then just push them in. I'm sure it'll be fine. Houses rarely burn down because of it, right? No, they teach you how to do it safely and securely. And in school, we are teaching people first, hello world, right? Second thing that they teach you, ask the person's name, take it from them, store it, and then push it out to the screen. Cross-site scripting, awesome, number 2 lesson. And why aren't we teaching after that? Like, but sometimes users are bad, right? And so this is the thing that upsets me because university costs a lot in my country. Also, see her? See how she's alone and sad? That is me whenever, except for at my startup that I work at. So usually, so we saw this before in James's kick-ass keynote. But it's true. I've never had such good numbers as this. So I'm that woman that's alone that's sad with her computer in the data center. I have had it where it's like 400 developers to me. I've had it 2,000 developers to me. And if you can imagine my inbox, it was like someone took a cup and then they put a fire hose aimed at it, and then someone left for a year and came back, and then that's what it looked like every morning. So they started messaging me on like LinkedIn, on Twitter, and all these other places, and people would like come by my desk, and I'm like, I'm just gonna hide in this other person's desk, and I couldn't work harder anymore, I had to work smarter. So, and I'm adding like cute little guys in here, so I'm gonna come this way. My friend made me this for when I feel passive aggressive. How do I, So see how there's like dinosaurs and they're frolicking in a waterfall. So if someone does things that I feel are like really old, sometimes I send them this and I'm like, you're that guy. But Waterfall didn't work really well. Like something like only 25 to 30% of projects were actually successful in Waterfall. And the accompanying security model, which I affectionately call STOP, while we do some security. It's like you would never finish the certification and assessment process or accreditation or whatever, like all of those things. I felt like the security team was like enemy number 1 when I was a software developer. Okay, so what is DevSecOps? It's performing AppSec in a DevOps environment. So this is where I, as a security person, fit into DevOps. Like, what am I supposed to do? My friend Imran said that. He's a cool dude. Okay, so first I'm going to, so now we're done the review. All of you knew that. You all already knew. So now I'm going to explain what DevOps is according to the DevOps handbook, because that's my favorite definition. Then we're going to go through each one of the 3 ways of DevOps, and then we're going to talk about a whole bunch of ideas, like tactics, like things you can go do physically, well, with your keyboard, so that you can go do them when you get back to your office, okay? All the things I'm going to show you are things you could actually do, and a bunch of them, I've actually done them in little videos with my friends Nancy and Francisca and Nicole. Nancy's here somewhere, I don't know where she is, but anyway, she's here, and we make videos of us actually doing these things. So if there's something you're like, that's cool, there's probably a video of us being nerdy and actually doing it so that you can follow through. So take notes. Okay, what is DevOps? Okay, so what are the main goals of DevOps? I know you're not going to answer me because there's too many people in this room. If you were closer, like there's no one on the front row to pick on. I see you there. The main goals of DevOps are threefold, right? We want to get to market faster because we want money. We want to have better resiliency, like a tougher product that does not fall down. And we also want to make sure that we're deploying often with little or smaller deployments so that we have, again, so that it's more solid. Right? So I bet you're thinking, that's nice, those are business reasons, but those are security reasons that I like DevOps. Okay, improve deployment frequencies. This is how I feel about this. This means you can fix my security emergency right now. I want you to fix it right now, not in 8 months. I used to work somewhere and the emergency release cycle was 4 months. emergency. We had a 16-month release cycle for features. And I was like, ah! And obviously everything was written in struts. All different versions though, don't worry. We didn't standardize. But like that makes fixing security emergencies impossible. So DevOps means you can actually get stuff fixed in a reasonable amount of time. The next thing is lower failure rates. Okay, so I feel like security people should like this. Resiliency, as the DevOpers call it. Who here has seen this? Everyone knows this off by heart, right? Okay, now all the hands go up. So now I'm gonna tell you, it's your fault. So confidentiality and integrity and availability is the mandate of every security team. This is why we get paid. We get paid to protect these things, your systems and your data as they relate to these things. This is drilled into security people. No developers have ever seen this. When I give this talk to developers, they're like, that's weird, there's a triangle there. The fact that they don't all already know this, that they're not taught this in computer science, like this is why I come to your office and hassle you. This is why I'm upset, because these aren't in line. Okay, so if we go back here, resiliency, what does resiliency mean? It means the availability in CIA. If your app is super tough as nails, no one can knock it down, it's always available, that's a big plus in computer security terms. Okay, next, faster time to market. How does this fit in for security? Why does security care? I'm seeing someone go like this. Okay, so there's no security team if there's no business. And it is in my interest to be employed. So if I am the risk to availability, if I am doing all these things, stopping the people from getting their business done, then this means I am the risk to our product, right? And so faster time to market matters to security because security doesn't win if the business doesn't win. It is our job to enable them to get business done securely. If we make it so they can't get anything done, okay. So this is my compliment. DevOps is the best thing to happen to application security since OWASP. Yeah, I said that. I quote myself. Mark Miller taught me that. It seems more impressive if you're quoting something, right? I am totally obsessed with OWASP. We've had like a 5-year love affair. I do a lot of things within that community, and that community matters to me a lot. But I really think that if security gets on board with DevOps and gets in there, as opposed to standing on the outside, like this could be like a renaissance for security of software. Okay, so now I want to talk about DevOps and the 3 ways. Who here feels sleepy after lunch? Okay, because like you're being like slightly not that responsive. I'm gonna make you put your hands up later. I'm sorry, I'm mean. Okay, 3 ways. So does anyone dare tell me one of the 3 ways? I have a candy for you if you do. They're like, we can get candies from you anytime, Tanya. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the 3 ways. Yeah, the audience is too big. It's too big. Okay, so the first way is making sure the entire system is fast. Emphasizing the whole system, not just your part. So let's say I speed up my part so it's really fast, but there's some other thing that everyone else is waiting on still, and I didn't work on that. My work does not count, or it doesn't help really. So instead, if I see my part's already really good and someone else's part is awful, what I should do is put my part down, tell my bosses what's happening, I should go over and help them so the entire system is faster. So that's the first way, making things fast. The next way, oh wait, no, go back. Yes. The second way is getting feedback right away, getting feedback the whole way through, okay? Waterfall is basically like, I can't hear you. I'm just gonna wait till the very end to talk to anyone and see if I'm doing the right thing. DevOps is the antithesis of that. It's about getting feedback as soon as humanly possible, regularly, so you're always making sure you're on the right course. And the third way of the 3 ways is continuous learning and experimentation and risk-taking. So make a big mess, clean it up, keep moving. This can be you taking a course, this can be you coming here, this can be you making a proof of concept and seeing how this works. It could be you watching the videos again from this conference that specifically stood out to you as something that might help you at work, right? And continuous learning is really important. And Who here has someone in their office or has ever worked with someone where they haven't gone on training in like 5+ years, and they're like this senior tech that's super bitter, and they're like, I can't go on training because if I miss one day of work, everything's gonna burn to the ground. Yeah, that's because you haven't been on training in like 10 years. Like, you don't know anything. So I feel that the 3 ways are really important for making good software, but I feel they're really important for security, and here's why. Okay. 1, so let's emphasize the security of the entire system. So I like to walk around a lot. I'm really sorry about this. Is that okay? I'm not breaking anything? I heard like some sounds, like microphone sounds. It's fine. Okay, good. Okay, so we're gonna emphasize the entire system, efficiency, speed. So right to left, or this amazing, I feel like my animations are getting really good, and at some point I'm gonna have to do like professional, just kidding. But you get the picture, right? Like, so if you're doing DevOps, you're doing Agile, you're doing Fragile, you're doing Waterfall, or Waterfail, you know what I mean. But like, no matter what, you need requirements. You actually need to know what you're building. You need to actually design, make a plan. Then you do the fun part, you get to code things. Then you test things. Hopefully you've been testing things actually like a lot sooner than that. And then you release it, and you monitor it, and you hope everything goes well. And I have other talks about that, but let's just focus on this. Okay, so we want to go fast. So we're going right to left, left to right. You know what I mean. Okay, so what does this mean for DevOps? Right, so this talk, I realize that most of you are security folk, but it matters to you what it means to DevOps, because if you don't know how to explain what you need from them, we are lost. So it means we need their help in tuning our tools so that we don't break everything and make their life hell. Right? It means that we want them to reuse code that we know is good and not use code that we know is bad, right? And we can guide them on this. It means that we want to use up-to-date images, or if you're going to do containers, like ensure your settings are good. Follow best practices, which is a thing we can guide them in and support them in. It means we need them to actually make unit tests so that we can make malicious unit tests, because that's what they're for, right? And it means security bugs need to start to break the build, big security bugs, not little ones. But we need, okay, so who here has ever broken a build and then been really unpopular? Oh, really, you're all perfect, that's good. Okay, there's some truth tellers here. I had my friend break my build like the night before I was gonna give this big talk. And I was just like, and you know what I did? I turned off all the security stuff so I could get it out. So I feel developers' pain. Okay, but this talk is for security people. Oh, this is the photo slide. This talk will have 7 picture slides, so you could just take a picture and not take notes if you want to, because I've heard if you put words on the screen, while you're talking, everyone just reads. So I have pictures of women of color doing tech instead, so you could just like appreciate their awesomeness and how they're like being super capable and like getting all the crap done, and hopefully listen. Okay, so this is number 1, there's gonna be 7. Okay, so what else does this mean for security? It means we wanna ensure, okay, so this is the number 1 rule. Make sure dev and ops aren't constantly waiting for you. You cannot be the bottleneck. This means you cannot break the build unless it's a real emergency, right? It means that, for instance, you're not gonna turn on like a static code analysis tool and put it in the build and have it scan everything like on a regular day, and it just like takes 9 hours to run, and you're like, oh, well, you will not get invited to any of the parties if you do this. And it's important. It's important to be a part of your team and be invited to the parties. I have worked places where when I got there, the developers would actually send the F word to us in emails because they hated the security team so much. And it only took me a few weeks to realize it was all our fault. So it's really important. And we need to make processes that actually work, right? That's so important. I remember, so I worked somewhere and they're bringing in something called SANA, like Security Accreditation and Certification, or whatever. Who cares what it stood for? It didn't work. Like, auditors can do a good job, they were not. And I was like, well, when does it finish? They're like, oh, none of them ever finish. We never actually like finish them. I'm like, ah! Okay, so that's not cool. So this means that we need to learn to do sprints if developers are doing sprints. Right, so we need to break our stuff up into smaller activities so we can get things done faster, which I'll talk about in more detail in a second. But mostly I just want you to take away from this slide is that we can't just slow people down unless there's a really, really good reason, and we need processes that work. Okay, so next, what else does this mean for security? breaking security activities into smaller pieces. Okay, so there's a lot of options for this. So static code analysis, that takes a long time. I've seen it where it takes like 3 days to run, and then it has this 10,000-page report. No. You can't hand off a 10,000 or even 1,000 or even 100-page report to a developer, because that's like giving them a big picture of you, giving them the middle finger. That is not helpful, right? Instead, let's just look for one bug class. Okay, so let's just look for injection vulnerabilities. And then again, in the next sprint, let's look for a different one. And let's try to knock out one bug class at a time. Or if you're doing a pen test, for instance, like maybe that will be a copy of the app that you're doing it on, while people can still continue to develop. And then you take those tests and then you add them to unit tests, like the findings of your pen test, like add some things in to look for those things to make sure that the developer that made that mistake doesn't make it again. It's really, really important that you don't create a process that does not allow anyone to get their job done, because then you are enemy number one of the business and of the developers and the ops folk. Okay, next. Yeah, so this is another photo slide. Oh, another thing here, the last one is providing secure coding templates. So a code repository is like a woman's purse. You do not put your hand in it without permission. Okay? So if you're a security person, you don't just go barge in there and start doing things, because you will get locked out really quickly. Instead, you want to ask first for read access so that you can scan it, but then you want to talk to the team and see if you can find things that can be reused, right? I worked at a place where we made custom software for everyone, and every single person wanted a username and login type of screen. So we had someone come in and just hack the crap out of it, and then we all reused that, and then we would just retest the template every time, and then we would proliferate it amongst the team, whatever changes were required. This saved tons of time and upped our security really quickly, right? So that's the last one on that slide while you all took the picture. Okay, so what else does this mean for security? I have a lot of slides that are mostly just for security. There's gonna be a lot of ideas in here, and again, I'm sorry I'm going, throwing so much at you, but these slides are available, so you can look through them again and again. I'm on the internet, and I have videos and all sorts of things. Please don't feel who feels overwhelmed at this point? No hands. Okay, everyone's great, awesome. Yes, I'm wearing for nothing, good. Okay, so another thing that I think is really cool is, so you have the main pipeline that pushes to prod, right? And let's say that, the teams are you're allowed doing this many tests, or you're allowed this many minutes of slowing us down. But you can't do all the tests you want. So instead, what you could do is create a parallel pipeline that just has every security test that you could ever dream of, and then you have that run Friday nights. So you are not annoying anyone, and it goes nowhere. It doesn't publish. It just goes off into nowhere. And then you can sit there and look through the static code analysis results, or you can look at the dynamic application security testing results, and then you can make sure none of them are false positives, so that you are not under the gun for time, and that you also haven't slowed anyone down or annoyed the crap out of anyone. You don't want to make enemies, like James said earlier. Okay, so more on this. You can code your own libraries for your specific business needs. This is a more advanced activity, don't start here. But as you saw earlier from, for instance, Netflix with their Chaos Monkey and their Repo Kid, which we'll talk about later, they saw things that were a hole and there wasn't a tool or something that they could go get, so they made their own because they have this special circumstance, right? You can do this too. If everyone on the security team knows how to code, or just some of you, or you've made good friends with some developers, this is a thing that you can actually accomplish, which is kind of awesome. Basically, you just want to help the developers and the ops people get their jobs done as quickly and securely as possible. So you can be creative, everything counts. Don't feel like if you didn't see it in one of the slides here today that you can't go off and do it and it might not be completely awesome. And if you do, tell us, because we want to know. Okay, so here are more things that you can add for your photo slide. I want to emphasize you don't have to do 100% of the work yourself, right? So it's developers' jobs to write most of the code. So you're not expected to go in and code every single part of the app that has to do with security, because you will never get things done and it won't scale, right? So when you see these things, try not to have a panic attack. Good? Okay. All right. So now I want to talk about faster feedback. I want to know immediately if stuff is wrong. I don't want my colleague to tell me 3 weeks later, oh yeah, no one liked your suggestion, so no one implemented it. They all just nodded because you're scary. That's not helpful to me. So what does this, so amazing graphics again, you can see, I'm gonna work for Pixar next. See how we're going left? So we call this pushing left in security. This is my favorite thing. So I used to only be invited here. I did pen testing and I would come here, or incident response. I did so much work here. That sucks. I'm like, you know why you're inviting me here? Because you didn't let me give you any security requirements, because no one looked at your design and said, oh, that looks awful. Like, no, like I was just invisible. So I want to start at the beginning. I want to be there the whole way through. So that's what pushing left is in security, but this applies to every single type of bug, as we will see. Okay, next button. Okay, so this is the management slide. See? Take a picture, show your boss. It costs exponentially more the later you wait to fix a bug, or the later you find it. I mean, like, I had a developer once tell me, so we hired 2 secure code review dudes and 2 people to come do pen testing. And the 4th person found a bug, and the developer was so awesome. He was like, yeah, I knew about that the whole time, but I was waiting to see if any of them would catch it. And I was just like, if you know about a bug, you should tell me. And he's like, I just wanted to see if any of them would get it. And I'm just like, okay, so I clearly need to educate my staff more, right? So show this to your boss and tell him that's why you need to push left. Okay, next. Okay, so now what else does this mean for dev and ops, right? If we're gonna get feedback quickly, what does it mean? Well, please tell us what you're thinking. And then we need to listen and take action. So I'm gonna tell you a little story that is not my story. This is a Netflix story that Asta told me about. She's this awesome human being that leads the AppSec team at Netflix. And so they started this thing called Repo Man, because they have 1 billion microservices and they wanted to do least privilege, right? They didn't want all of them to have tons of privileges they didn't need, because that's how you stop like attackers. If they get in, if there's almost no privileges, then they can do less damage. So they made this thing, Repo Man. It was taking away permissions, and they broke so much stuff. People stopped inviting them to parties and social outings. This is not good. So then they listened, and then they took it down, and then they came out with Repo Kid, which is like less aggressive. So instead, what it would do is it would watch a new instance, and it would sit there and watch, and it had a base set of permissions, but then it would start pulling away permissions if they hadn't been used, and slowly pull away permissions. And they pulled off around like 30 or 70% of the permissions on all the different types of services they had, because they finally could see what least privilege actually was and not burn everything down. And this was because the developers actually shared with them, and then they actually listened. So for everyone in this room, listen. It's really important. Okay. Also, another thing we want is we need their participation when we do security activities. So if we give security training, it'd be awesome if they showed up, right? And I don't mean like, don't click that link. I mean, don't click stuff. But I mean, if we offer secure coding or secure design or threat modeling training, please come. If there's an incident, please don't just leave if it's your app that we are investigating. I was investigating an incident, like a live incident, like we're being attacked at the moment, and I went and did stuff, and then I came back, and I was talking to the developer, and then I came back, and then I went to him, and he had left because it was the end of the day for him, and he needed to catch his bus. I was just like, so we need them to participate. That's what we need. Okay, so but what does this mean for security? So first of all, we want to push left, right? Do I need to? Because I'm wondering how much time I have and if I should go. No, I'm not going to tell you the story. I can tell you the story after, but it's like an analogy of building a house, and I'm already telling it, so I might as well. But if you tell someone to change the design drastically right near the end, it's going to cost you a fortune. It's not going to be great. Oh, do I have 5 minutes? Is that what you're telling me? Oh, wow. Okay, so anyway, it means a lot of things for security, and I could have sworn that I had 45 minutes, so I'm going to rush. Just go. Okay. So it also means we need to tune the tools. We need to listen to them. We can't have a tool that just breaks everything. I have worked so many places where the security people put in a tool, it shatters everything, and then the developers are complaining, and they're like, tough. No. Okay, next. Okay, this is a side tangent. So my friend Clint, He can't, just ignore the whole slide except this. He wrote this wrapper that went around this old function so that it would immediately rename itself. So that it was very clear immediately that people should not use this. And he said the usage of this went down instantaneously, like no one was using it. And then the very few people that were using it, they went and interviewed them and asked them why. They didn't go yell at them. They asked them in a nice way. Okay, one more thing. Oh, wait, no, back. Okay, sorry. Actually, I already told this story, so never mind, that's fine. But the point is that it's really important that, one, we break the build if there's a real this is like a thing I'm going to repeat a bunch of times, because if you don't break the build when there's a serious security problem, you're in trouble. Okay, next. I would like to suggest that if your developers are doing a lot of unit tests, that you can take those tests and turn them into negative unit tests, or what I like to call regressive security testing. So you take their tests that they're already doing, that already work, and then you add payloads into them. What this means is every time they run their unit tests, you get a whole bunch of testing done for you. And if you have a penetration test done, or all sorts of, if you have a bug bounty, you add these to the unit tests. And that means before it even gets to the pipeline, it's had hundreds, if not thousands of tests. Yes. And another thing, okay, we want to invite Dev and Ops to participate in our activities, right? If there's an incident, they should come. If there's training, they should come. If there's threat modeling, you should come. We need their opinion because they are the most evil. Developers are all hackers. They just don't know yet. No one told them. When I was a developer, I did all sorts of hacking all the time and did not realize the evil that I was doing. I was like, oh, I just like pause the debugger, and then I copy out the password, and I just log into prod and change the things I want. And they're just like, what? I'm like, and they're like, does everyone on your team know that? I'm like, if they're not smart enough to do that, they're not on my dev team, then they're dumb. And my boss is just like, anyway. And we should try to talk them into security sprints, where you fix all the security problems. That's not where you fix all the things in the backlog. You fix our stuff. Okay, one more thing on this. I am a big fan of metrics and measuring everything under the sun. So if you can take a list of all of the things you've seen the most often and give it to the developers, tell them these are a problem, right? So everywhere I work, I ask immediately, or if I consult, what are the 3 things you got the most of in your tests? And 2 of them are always, they're allergic to security headers, and also cross-site scripting is prolific. And then the 3rd one's always something really weird. There's this one developer doing this one crazy thing, right? And once you find out who that is, it's okay again, right? And so use the metrics to share with the developers, okay? And then create unit tests out of those things. Okay, so this is slide number 5, and I feel like I really gotta rush this, and I'm really sorry. Okay, so continuous learning. This means learning all the time. So for Dev and Ops, For Dev and Ops, this means if we offer training, they should accept it. Hint, hint, I want you to offer them training, right? If there's an incident, tell them what happened. After it's cleaned up, after it's fixed, right? If there's like a cool new thing that you want them to use, give them training, don't make them pay for it. It also means that we definitely want to create as many learning lessons as possible, and this means that if someone does something wrong, we don't punish them. This means we have postmortems to discover what security guard was missing, or not security guard, like what policy was missing or what safeguard was missing so that this happened, as opposed to it's Alice's fault or Bob's fault. This is really important in this thing. And another thing is I'm a big fan of security simulations or exercises. If you invite developers to those and explain to them, like, this has happened, what would you do? It opens their eyes to a million things. I had someone from security take me on an incident, and then that's how I got hooked on incident management. This is a great recruiting technique. Okay, so what else does this mean? So there's gonna be one more slide after this for photos, but no one's taking photos, so that's okay. Okay, so what else does this mean for security? It means talking about incidents after they are over. It means teaching developers and ops what the output from tools actually mean. So I've worked places where we give them a security tool, but no one knows how to use it, and they don't know what it means, and they can't tell what things are true positives or false positives. And so give them training on these tools if you're going to give it to them. Otherwise, you're wasting their time again. Okay. And everything needs to go into a logo. Everything needs to go into a knowledge base. Yeah, and you should give them training. That's what this slide's about. Okay, this is the last photo slide, and then we're gonna briefly talk about how you need to have culture change or this won't work. I'm so sorry I'm over time, Jim. You're okay? Okay. So security has to become a part of DevOps. It's not gonna magically happen, and this means culture change. So let's celebrate security wins, right? Instead of us getting angry when there's incidents, instead, like, what if someone passes their pen test with flying colors, right? What if they just had a security sprint and they knocked out like 100 security bugs? What if they upgraded all these frameworks that were a huge pain in the butt, but they did it, and now we don't have to worry about a ton of problems, right? Like, let's celebrate. Also, what if we spent time with them? I worked at a place where the security team was in a totally other building, and it's so much easier to be rude to someone over email versus if this is the person where you have to, like, you know, make coffee next to them every morning. So if you can, actually co-locate your teams. The next thing here is, so I'm mentioning this twice, blameless postmortems, right? It's really, really important that we don't name names. This can make upper management super peeved because they want a person to execute. They want that person to walk down the plank, right? But that doesn't really help. Like, unless this person has had training 3 times and there are safeguards and they undid them and, like, they're just malicious, like, you gotta get rid of that person. But generally, it's an honest mistake. It's an accident. And security champions, right? So who here has security champions where they work? It doesn't have to be official, but just people that you know that are super into security. Buy them a book. Give them a sticker, send them a cool video from this conference when they come out and be like, I thought of you when I saw this, I think you'll love it. That is 1, a great way to do recruiting, and 2, it is a great way to get them on your team and thinking about security. Just thinking about security will make them write more secure code. Okay, and now I'm gonna get awkward with you for a minute because awkwardness is my specialty. And so security's job is to enable dev and ops to do their jobs securely. Securely by enabling them, by teaching them, automation and feedback. But I want all of you to put up your right hand. I'm not kidding. Everyone, so if you make a promise and you raise your right hand, you are 90% more likely to do it. All the hands, I see you over there. Hands up, hands up. So we're all gonna promise. So I promise to enable dev and ops as best I can to do their jobs securely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I just have some resources. Get your cameras ready. Conclusion, we can do this. I have a lot of videos on the internet with my friends Nancy and Francisca and Nicole. If you want to learn more about how to actually do some of these things, you can come watch them, they're free. Microsoft went to DevOps, and it was a rough ride. If you want to feel good about yourself and learn more about how we did it and how we overcame some of the problems, you can see this here. I have this blog post that I'm constantly updating with all sorts of different things to help you get started with application security. They're all free courses or links or things that I think that you really need to know. And I keep updating it, and if you have a dev that really wants to learn about this, send them there. And then the last one is, I would love it if you would follow me because this is all I talk about, and I'm super obsessive. And then with that, I would like to thank all of you for your time and attention today. Thank you. Oh, yeah, there, wait, yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you. So we have just one question. So do you find it hard to sell people on the idea of negative regression test case as it is seen as extra work or it's something valuable? Yeah, it's hard to sell everyone on anything. No, like I find that like people, they have such tight deadlines, all the different places that they're working. I find it really hard to convince them to do any extra work. But if you can show them the value of the things that it caught, that's where you get it. I usually convince people by doing their work for them for a little bit, and then they see the value, and then like, your turn. This works for me. So do we have any, so incoming, moderation is on. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the nice comment, live. Okay, cool, that's it, thank you. So whoever, come get your candy, Neil. And then, yeah, come talk to me because I'm actually really nice. They didn't have any green things left because I would have just put them all on. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I really appreciate it.